Hello, my darling. This is a new books video, 13th. Sorry for the delay, and here we go. First book I want to talk to you about is Mordecai Richler. Solomon Gersky was here. This is something slightly Dickensy, like 200 years of Jewish Canadian solitude. It's funny, it's biting, it's snide. It's a fanciful superstructure of history, of geography, of myth. For as it turns out, the Gersky's have participated in nearly every big moment of world history. If the Gersky's were in present creation, they haven't missed a trick since. If I have to say, flow-wise, this book is way too crowded. There's so many characters, all of them find space and time in it. Sometimes, while reading it, you might get lost. Occasionally, it gets kind of blurry, but it's still very enjoyable, and if you like those sorts of books that extend over a long period of time, you're definitely gonna love this. Time for another Neil Gaiman collection of short stories. This is Smoke and Mirrors. The main reason why I like this one is apparently Smoke and Mirrors is how Neil Gaiman describes the art of telling stories, something that's made of smoke and mirrors. I find it quite fascinating, right? Now, if you want to have this, just make sure that your edition of Fragile Things is the British one, because as it often happens with these sort of anthologies, you get the same short stories in many anthologies again. So you might find yourself with the same story over many books, which is okay because, I mean, the stories in this are just reprints from other sources, whether it's magazines, other anthologies and collections. What's interesting is there are 10 stories and poems from earlier small press Angels and Visitations, which are quite hard to find outside of this one. Oh, I really like this one. This is Brooke Clark, An Arsonist's Guide to Writers' Homes in New England. I read this in Italian. It's the story of one Sam Pulsifer, who accidentally burnt down Emily Dickinson's house and unwittingly killed 2 people. He emerged 10 years later from jail, and he tries to build his life again, from scratch, when suddenly the homes of other famous New England writers suddenly go up in smoke, and obviously he has to prove his innocence by uncovering the identity of this literary-minded arsonist. I will put in the info box the link to the site of this book, which is lovely, especially the section that gives you very valuable piece of advice in case you want to become an arsonist yourself, what to wear, what not to wear, what to do and what not to do. It's an utterly original story, and it's about truth and honesty, about life and imagination. This novel stirred a scandal. It's Portnoy's Complaint. It's a humorous monologue of a lust-ridden, mother-addicted young Jewish bachelor. He confesses himself to his psychoanalyst in an intimate and shameful detail, with coarse and abusive language. Many characteristics that you find in this went on to become Roth's trademarks. Came out in 1967. 1969, Australia declared this prohibited import and tried to keep it out of the country. Penguin resisted and had copies printed up in secret and stored in fleets of moving trucks. Ever since its publication, speculation has abounded as to how much of Portnoy's Complaint was fiction and how much was sort of thinly veiled autobiography. What's great about it is that Roth himself poked fun at these parlor games with another novel that came out in 81 that's called Zuckerman and Bound. There's his another alter ego, who's called Nathan Zuckerman, who's continually accosted by clueless strangers who cannot believe he was exercising the creative faculties of a writer when he wrote the sex scenes in Karnofsky, which is the alter novel to Portnoy's Complaint. This book will probably shock you, granted. But it's so witty, so intelligent and thought-provoking, you really want to take the risk with this one. 4-Letter Word. This is an inspired collection of new fiction from some of today's most celebrated writers, including our beloved Neil Gaiman. They all explore the charm and power, seductive power, of a classic genre, which is the love letter. My favorite is the one that Bigfoot writes to Santa, and this single detail alone should have you jump on your feet and get out and grab this book because it's really lovely. It's Neil Gaiman time again. Yeah, no, this is the last one of this video. It's Stories All New Tales, edited by Neil Gaiman and Al Sarrantonio. Now, in this one, we see our beloved Neil just as an anthologist. Sarrantonio is sort of leader in this sort of enterprises. I have to be honest, many of these stories are tepid, and a few, won't say which is which, are unreadably bad. What is good about this book is that the range of voices and subjects practically guarantees something for any reader, really. But you have to keep in mind that the quality is frustratingly variable. Let's just say most stories are good, some aren't, and just a few are exceptional. This one is lovely. The Suicide Shop. Set of the novel is exactly what the title says. It's a shop that offers every variety of suicide aids. Advice as well. They also have a slogan, which is, "Has your life been a failure? Let's make your death a success." Is entertaining. All the absurdities are made so clear. It's gentle fun. It has an even rounded and appropriate ending. But I have to say, it's nothing exceptional. It's pleasant. It's a rather little entertainment. Next is Scarlett Thomas. She's almost in each and every one of these videos, isn't she? Anyway, this is Bright Young Things. And it's the story of 6 young people who respond to the advert in the Times, all clever, disaffected with their lives, looking for an escape. They find themselves on an apparently deserted island, and the action unfolds from there. To be honest, there's not much action overall. The center of this book is just dialogue and character development, which is perfectly fine because I think that's something Scarlett Thomas is very good at. What I liked about this is that I think it has all the major flaws and the major ups Scarlett Thomas's book normally have, like endings. For some reason, I'm never satisfied when a Scarlett Thomas book ends. As long as you have it going, you just can't put it down. The problem with the end is that the situation they're in is open to all sorts of possibilities. They spend most of the time playing Truth or Dare, which is kind of the point, and it's enjoyable, but it could have been better. If Scarlett Thomas were to write a proper end to one of her books, I would so much wish this was the one. And then it's Jonathan Coe, The Rotters Club. To summarize the plot, 3 teenage friends grow up in the British 70s and they watch their lives change, the world getting involved with Provisional Irish Republican Army bombs, progressive and punk rock girls, and political strikes. You have to know there's also a sequel to this book. Came out 3 years later. This came out in 2001, sequel in 2004. The sequel is called The Closed Cycle, and that one's nice too because picked up the characters' lives at the very end of the 90s. There's a nice trivia about this book. It held the record for the longest sentence in English literature with, let me read it because I will never remember it for the life of me, 13,955 words. It was beaten by the Blast Story Volume 4. It's a whole book made of one single sentence. And ahead of this one, obviously, Molly Bloom's monologue held the record. This one is The Murder at Roadhouse Hill by Kate Summerscale. It's not a crime story. It should probably be defined as documentary writing. It's a summer night in 1860 in an elegant detached Georgian house in the village of Rode in Wiltshire, and all is quiet. The Kent family lies sound asleep. At some point after midnight, a dog barks. The family wakes the next morning to a horrific discovery. An unimaginable, gruesome murder has taken place in their home. The household reverberates with shock, not least because the guilty party is surely still among them. This is a true story. All this book does is follow the investigation. It won't try and be a novel about it. It won't try and dramatize it all. It will just pull up all the evidence they pull together. There's also picture, you see. So you get the story from echoes of everyone involved. Yes, it's a locked room murder, but it's a historical police procedural as well. It's been thoroughly researched and you can definitely sense it. Another thing that's absolutely great about this book is that it really depicts human nature in an age of change. And I always like it when books manage to just time travel you to another time and place, you know? And this definitely manages. And last, it's The 13th Tale by Diane Satterfield. It's a rich story about ghosts and mysteries, books and family. This book is a book lover's book. And much of the action takes place in libraries and bookstores. So the line between fact and fiction often gets blurred. If I have to say something, it's hard to believe it's a debut. I feel like this is more of a product than an honest tale. Still enjoyable, but not really honest. If you've read this, I'm really interested. Have you felt the same? Is it me? So once again, I, as usual, hope I wasn't too much of a bore with this Sosa video. I hope that maybe I've given you something new to read, and let me know in the comments if you've read some of the books I've spoken about, if you intend to, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye!